Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 1705 broadcast. Today, we're going to be talking about Freemasonry. It's our first subject for our first episode ever. Today, we're just joined by me and myself, but we're going to have more people coming on later in the podcast, some very knowledgeable people. So, I'm going to be talking about Freemasonry. I'm going to be discussing Freemasonry because it's truly a very, very integral part to the system we live in nowadays. When you hear Andrew Tate or Ray Dalio, whatever, whoever it is, one of those people who love to talk about how everything is rigged and the elites control everything. Well, a very integral part to that system is the largest fraternity to have ever existed, which is Freemasonry. It's also a very good introduction to esoteric knowledge. When I went into esotericism, or no, sorry, well, yeah, when I went into esotericism, the first thing that I learned about was Freemasonry, but it was through a lens that was corrupted by, the church, and it's even though a lot of it was correct, it didn't tell the big picture at all. There's this huge war that you might see like on Instagram or on YouTube, TikTok. I don't know if it might be on TikTok, but there seems to be a very big war between Jesus Christ and Freemasonry. And yes, Freemasonry is at the very highest levels. They commit some pretty heinous stuff, but it needs to be explained a little bit more because it's not as simple as just the church is correct, religion is correct, and then Freemasonry is evil and satanic. It's not that simple. Um, I also thought I would talk about Freemasonry because, when I look at some very, very, very knowledgeable people, they start talking about esoteric and occultist knowledge through Egypt, and they talk about neophytes, and they talk about Hermeticism and alchemy. And when I first learned about esoteric knowledge, I didn't know what any half of those terms meant. I didn't even know what any of them meant. I just knew that, Egypt built the pyramids, and that's it. So that's why we're going to get into Freemasonry. And actually, Freemasonry, even though it's like if you search up on Wikipedia, most, how would you say, let's say blue pilled people who don't really look into Freemasonry will only tell you that Freemasonry was founded in the 14th century uh, through stonemasons. And yes, that part is proven actually. Stonemasons were the people who created cathedrals and castles for the rich and the elite bloodlines, for the churches, and well, yeah, you can see that they had access to a lot of knowledge to the elite because they literally worked for them. That's also why the logo of Freemasonry is a square and compass because they were all stonemasons and they used compasses and squares as tools in Freemasonry to build the structures that they used to build the proper way. But then there's a lot of debate between historians and theologists that look at religion and things like that. There's debate and discussions about Freemasonry, about where they really originated from. Some say they originated from the Knights Templar and all of the knowledge that was gained from the Knights Templar. Others say it dates back all the way to Egypt, and that's why there's a lot of Hermetic principles in Freemasonry. And in Freemasonry, you study also Egyptian deities and gods. Basically, and this is true when you look at all religions and mythology and dogmas and language, linguistics, everything, you realize that it's all very blurry and you have to start just connecting the dots. It's very difficult to have legitimate proof and statements of when something came to be. It gets very blurry, but what you can do is you can find links and connections geographically and then also theosophically. with their symbolism and things like that. So yeah, that just to get a general understanding of where these concepts are starting to head towards. The Knights of Templar, Christian, Catholic, church-based knowledge, and also a lot of Hermetic principles and Egyptian principles as well. The first lodge ever opened, however, was in 1717. This is like actual proof that you can look back on and you can say, yep, that's the first lodge ever in Freemasonry that we still have to this day. Or is it to this day? No, I don't know if it's still up, but the first note that we have of a Freemasonic lodge was in England, 1717. And supposedly it was against the church. But as we'll see later, that seems very improbable. In Freemasonry, when you get into Freemasonry, here's how it would usually go. You can't just join Freemasonry out of just joining, right? You can't just go into it and sign a sheet of paper somewhere and expect to be granted access. No, you need to have connections and you need to have somebody in Freemasonry to recommend you. They need to invite you. You cannot just go in yourself. You have to be invited. After you get invited, first off, you have to you have to be recommended by somebody who you know, and then the whole lodge. The lodge is kind of like a temple, or imagine a mosque. A mosque is for Islam, right? A church is for Christianity. A Hindu temple, I'm not sure what they're called. A Buddhist temple is for Buddhism. And then the lodge or lodges are for Freemasonry. Freemasonry isn't really a religion, but it's a giant fraternity that discusses philosophical and theosophical topics, just like all other religions do. And they go do that in the lodge, and they do ceremonies in the lodge. They do their rituals in the lodge. And so, once you get recommended by someone, then the entire lodge needs to probably do a background check on you to see if you are, eligible to enter. Once you enter, if you even do in the first place, you then need to pass the first 3 degrees of Freemasonry. And Masonry, you go up levels, right? And you get more and more knowledge, and more power, more and more say across your lodge, and probably to the world stage as well. A lot of celebrities, a lot of people are Freemasons, and they're very famous people. When you first enter Freemasonry, there's 3 main degrees, and every Freemason has to go through these. Every single one, every president of the United States, every member of the royal UK royalty, every celebrity that you see on Hollywood, all of them have to pass through these first degrees, and it's called Blue Lodge Freemasonry. Blue Lodge Freemasonry has 3 degrees. You have the Entered Apprentice, you have the Fellow Craft, and then finally you have the Master Mason. And you have to read this book called Magnum Opus, book by Albert Pike, very important, we're going to talk about him later. A book called Magnum Opus for Blue Lodge Freemasonry. Then after that, you get to choose between 2 different rites of Freemasonry. And rites are kind of like schools, right? Let's say you have this giant school of Freemasonry with Freemasonry, but it's a little bit different than the other one. The first one that we have out of these 2, because there's 2 main ones, the first one is York Rite Freemasonry, and York Rite Freemasonry started in the 1700s. The first recording of a York Rite Lodge was around the 1740s. Let me see if I can, if I wrote the date here at all. 1744. York Rite. And York Rite has 13 degrees. Imagine you go to school and there's 13 different grades, right? 13 degrees. Now, the first 3 degrees, like I just said, are Blue Lodge degrees, and every single Freemason has to go through Blue Lodge degrees. Then after that, you have the capitular degrees, and that's a body of degrees again. And the capitular degrees have 4 degrees inside. Let's pretend that that's like high school, right? You just went from elementary to high school, and then after high school, you have an even, how would you say? No, that's middle school. That would be middle school. Then high school would be like would be the one afterwards, right? So then the one afterwards is called the council degrees, and the council degrees only has 3 degrees, all the way up from to the 10th. And then finally, on the last one, this is like college level, if you're thinking in terms of school, the final 3 degrees are the commandery orders. And the commandery orders have the first degree being Order of the Red Cross, Order of Malta, right? Of the Knights of Malta. Very, very disturbing story about the Knights of Malta. And then finally, at the very top of York Rite Freemasonry, you have the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar, Order of the Knights Templar. And so when a lot of people say that Freemasonry and Christianity they go against each other and they don't go hand in hand, well, listen up. The first or the oldest rite, maybe it's not the oldest, but it's a huge rite that a lot of people go through. The older one, York Rite Freemasonry, the one that William Shakespeare was a part of, the one that Napoleon was a part of, these people, York Rite Freemasonry, have the Knights of Templar as the highest degree, which was a Catholic order. They were Catholic knights. The Knights Templar was founded after the Crusades, about 100 years after the last Crusades. And, again, in gray areas, there were still Crusades happening. But they were set up in Jerusalem to protect the Catholic Church. They were there to protect the Catholic Church. And the Knights Templar became extremely knowledgeable. They learned a lot of things throughout their line of work of protecting the Catholic Church. They have tunnels on tunnels on tunnels. Probably not as severe as the Vatican, but the Vatican holds a lot of Knights of Templar artifacts as well. They have tunnels worth of, or had tunnels worth of gold. Still probably do. Tunnels worth of, full of gold, full of riches, and with that came a lot of knowledge as well. And later on, about 100 years later, we get to 1307, October 13th. This is where you get the whole idea of Friday the 13th being a cursed day. You watch the movie Friday the 13th, Jason Voorhees comes out with a machete. Why? Why Friday the 13th? Why does everyone talk about Friday the 13th like it's this horrible day? Well, it starts centuries ago. It starts centuries ago. October 13th, 1307. That's our 2 13s now. 1307. King Philip the Fourth. Is that right? King Philip the Fourth, right? It was King Philip the Fourth, the King of France, was caught French Knight Templars, right? Because they expanded all across Europe since they were first founded in the 1119. It's weird. How do you pronounce 1100s? Anyways, they spread across Europe. They went into France as well, and they were caught worshiping Satan, kissing his ass. And when I say that, I'm not being sarcastic. They were literally doing rituals, theater plays, where they would kiss the devil's ass. Knights of Templar, that's where it comes from. That is the Catholic knowledge that they were able to gain. And yeah, they were burned alive, they were killed because of this. But then the Knights of Templar right now sits at the highest degree of Freemasonry. So there are connections with Satanism, but it's weird that the connections with Satanism are through a connection to the Catholic Church. And when we later talk about the sick oaths of Freemasonry, the disgusting oaths that these people have to take, oaths of silence, you're going to see even later on, it's no different than the church. It's no different. So Freemasonry, or York Rite Freemasonry at the very least, has that connection to the Knights Templar. And you can join the Knights Templar right now to this day. You'll learn a lot of knowledge, but it will probably come to a very big cost. But then, probably the more popular one, the one that, the greats, right, the great Freemasons, when you say 33rd degree Freemason, the other rite is called Scottish Rite Freemasonry, and this one has 33 degrees now. That's where you get the most famous, or one of the most famous Freemasons of all time, Albert Pike, or Manly P. Hall, writer on magic and the pineal gland. That's where you get Aleister Crowley, the occultist and the prophet of the Age of Horus, or the Eon of Horus, which will be a topic for a different episode. When you look at the person who was sent out to gather bankers for Jekyll Island, for the Federal Reserve and the IRS, Freemason, and what type of Freemasonry explicitly? Scottish Rite Freemasonry. And Scottish Rite Freemasonry came, or it has been recorded to have come after the 1800s, right? So in the 19th century is when the first lodge of Scottish Rite Freemasonry is seen. And this one was actually in South Carolina. Scottish Rite Freemasonry isn't actually made in Scotland, which is what I used to think. And I used to think York Rite Freemasonry was, made in New York. But it's not. That's not the truth. York was made in the old city of York. The old English city of York. Anyways, so again, same thing. You go through the first 3 degrees of Blue Lodge Freemasonry, and then you go through the 33 degrees of Freemasonry. And each time you go up the degrees, you get more and more knowledge, more and more power. And you understand metaphysics, you understand spiritualism, you understand philosophy to a very high degree, all through Freemasonry. But then, why is it that there's so many conspiracies, so many people that talk about Freemasonry in such a negative light, myself included? I don't like Freemasonry and what it's done to this world, just as I don't like all the other dogmas and religions that have been put across to this world. Well, there is a very large amount of secrecy that surrounds Freemasonry. My voice is getting really dry. I need to get some water. Hold on. Alright. There's a lot of secrecy surrounding Freemasonry. And you cannot, this cannot be denied. You cannot deny that there is secrecy behind Freemasonry, and that it is a secret society that aims to conceal information. I have some passages, some ritualistic oaths that people have to say. Like, Freemasons have to say these oaths in their initiation rituals. For Blue Lodge Freemasonry, by the way. For Blue Lodge Freemasonry. What they do is they blind themselves. They put one sleeve of their arm up, and then the opposing sleeve, how how would you say that for pants? What's the pant equivalent of sleeve? Whatever. The one of their pant sleeves all the way up to their thigh, and they put a belt around their arm. I'm pretty sure. Is it their arm, or is that Judaism? Is that only Judaism? The belt is put around the neck, and they pull one sleeve up, and the other one for their pants, they pull the other side up, and then they put a blindfold on, and then they have to say a bunch of things. They have to repeat what their masters have said, the master mason. And one of these things is the oath of silence, when they make a promise to never reveal the secrets. And here's when it starts to get really messed up, because listen to this. Okay, this is taken out of Duncan's Masonic Ritual, just one of the most important Masonic how you say it, guides. One of the most important Masonic guides, and it was written by a very high-ranking Freemason, Malcolm C. Duncan. I swear that I will hail, ever conceal, and never reveal any of the secret arts, parts, or points of the Master Mason's degree to any person or persons whomsoever, except that it be of a true and lawful brother of this degree. That's Duncan's Masonic Ritual. But wait, it gets worse. Because what happens if they break this oath? Binding myself under no less penalty than to have my body severed in two, my bowels taken from thence and burned to ashes. Same book. And then we get a different book. Richardson's Monitor of Freemasonry, another very well-known Freemasonic guide for people who go through Freemason and want to learn how to do the rituals. Here's what they have to say. Again, they're kneeling down, they're in the lodge, they're blindfolded, and they have to repeat this. I mind in me whatever, binding myself under no less penalty than to have my throat cut across, my tongue torn out by the roots, and my body buried in the rough sands of the sea at low water, rough sands. Wait, what? This one's really hard to read. The heck? Low water mark, where the tide ebbs and flows twice in 24 hours. So help me God. It's pretty embarrassing, but just so if you knew what I was reading from right now, it's highlighted with this really, really bad blue, so I can't see what it says. Then there's another book, very old book again, an Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, again written by 33rd Degrees. Who is that? Albert G. Mackey. Says the following: the truth must be kept secret, and the masses need a teaching proportioned to their imperfect reason. Encyclopedia of Freemasonry. You are the masses, and you need a teaching proportioned to your imperfect reason. Like what? Like the stuff you learn in school. The history you're taught in school. It's missing. It's missing so much. All this atheistic, nihilistic bullcrap as well. Missing so much. You still think the wars even happened. They're not wars, they're genocide to millions of people. Millions of people. Ritualistic genocides to fulfill biblical prophecies of the cosmos. We'll get to that later. It gets really, really messed up. But, yeah, you're taught that there actually was a dude called Adolf Hitler, and this dude, Adolf Hitler, genuinely wanted to take over the world and was totally not an occultist practitioner of the Black Sun, and totally didn't have all of this witchcraft going on in the SS. Right? You're not taught these things, even though you can, with a simple, very, very simple investigation and research, find out that they are real, and there's literally no reason whatsoever that you shouldn't be taught this in history class. You're not taught these things because you, to them, are just the vile multitude and the masses. You're part of the mass. You're the profane. And it's seen throughout a lot of Freemasonic literature as well. Another quote from the same book, Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, Albert G. Mackey. These truths were covered from the common people as with a veil, and the mysteries were carried into every country. I just spilled water. This book is like 100 years old. 100 years old. And the agenda to fulfill these truths and to put these mysteries in every country through colonization happened hundreds of years ago. Why do you think the Dalai Lama, however you pronounce it, shows Freemasonic hand signs all the time, and he makes it super obvious? And is also kind of a weirdo with kids. Do you guys hear that? The whole thing about him whispering to this kid's ear to suck on his tongue. That was... Anyways, that's why it's all across the world. And this book, that is 100 years old, explains it perfectly well. But then, what was that first quote from this book, An Encyclopedia of Freemasonry? It was a quote by Albert Pike, and Albert Pike comes again. Albert Pike, remember I talked about Albert Pike. Albert Pike, the writer of the book Magnum Opus for Blue Lodge Freemasonry, also wrote a book, one of the most famous Freemasonic books, a lot of the time nicknamed the Bible of Freemasonry. Not the Freemasonic Bible, because that's just the actual Bible, but with Freemasonic additions, basically. Morals and Dogma of the Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite is a book about philosophy and about a lot of Freemasonic principles. And it was written by Albert Pike. And one of the most famous, or I'm not sure if it's the most famous, but a very well-known quote is the following. And it's the same one as the one from the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry. Except this dude was the one to actually create it. Fictions are necessary for the truth, and the truth becomes deadly to those who are not strong enough to contemplate it in all of its brilliance. That's you. He's talking about you right there. In fact, what can there be in common between the vile multitude, that's you again, and sublime wisdom, that's him, and all the other Freemasons, high-ranking Freemasons, the initiated? The truth must be kept secret, and the masses need a teaching proportioned to their imperfect reason. The truth must be kept secret, and the masses need a teaching proportioned to their imperfect reason. Now, Albert Pike was a very, very troubled man. He has a very complicated past, and one of the main things about him was that he was a Confederate general during the American Civil Wars. Confederate general during the American Civil Wars, and that meant he was part of the dudes who were fighting for slavery. He was fighting for the slavery of black people. And it really makes you question when you look at John Wilkes, the murderer of Abraham Lincoln, and you see him displaying Freemasonic hand signs. You search up images of John Wilkes, and you'll see images of him displaying Freemasonic hand signs, which we'll get to in a second, by the way. John Wilkes was a Freemason, and so was Albert Pike. And he's the only Confederate general to this day who still has a statue dedicated to him. There's a statue for Albert Pike. And it really makes you realize who is running Freemasonry. Albert Pike was a genius, okay? This dude spoke multiple languages. He knew maths. He was one of those people who looked at the world with ones and zeros. but he was not a good person. And that's what Freemasonry, uh, and famous Freemasons, because not all Freemasons are evil people, but what the people at the highest levels, like Albert Pike, are. People who don't mind the slavery. And guess what? That slavery that Albert Pike was fighting for is seen to this day. You have, a couple hundred years later, the creation of the Federal Reserve by private bankers to have you chasing paper that they can print out of thin air. And they have you working for them. And they make you go to school to do what? To get your dream job. Not your dream life, your dream job. Because your dream can only be fulfilled when you're working for them, apparently. That same slavery. And they'll withhold the secrets, because what is the difference? Or what can there be in common between the vile multitude and sublime wisdom? What can there be? And unfortunately, these dudes are proven the entire world right, because nobody nowadays really cares, Oh no, let's just go to the mall, hang out. Dude, Lakers are playing at 4 today. Nah, I can't do this. I gotta go watch the Lakers with my buddies. That's where the interest is held nowadays. And that's the main thing about Freemasonry. But then a lot of other conspiracies about Freemasonry. And by the way, when I say conspiracy, I want to make it known that I'm not trying to put any of these claims down, right? I will not say that a conspiracy is a bad thing. Conspiracy is simply an investigation against a higher power. Now, a conspiracy theory, like flat Earth, for example, those are just theories, and I don't mess with theories. I mess with the cold hard facts. Just kidding. I'll delve into theories as well, but the main conspiracy is, and well, this is kind of a conspiracy theory, but is also not really. That Freemasons are Satan worshippers. They are these pedophiles, and they are connected with Jeffrey Epstein, and yeah, literally yes, like yes. But you can't really get any of that out directly from Freemasonry. It's the people who run Freemasonry. The same way you can't get any of that out through the Bible, right? Bible and pedophilia, never. Like, there's nothing in the Bible about pedophilia. But you look at the people who control the world in the Vatican, in the Catholic churches, the people in power, pedophilia surrounds them a lot. But it's never in the scripture. And it's not in this, I mean, unless if you're in, reading the Quran, or you're, then I guess it would be different, because you have Prophet Muhammad. But the same way happens in Freemasonry. Now, Freemasonry does mention Lucifer the Adonai, and it's in Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, the same dude that was a Confederate general. Morals and Dogma reads as follows: the apocalypse is, to those who receive the 19th degree, the apotheosis of that sublime faith which aspires to God alone, and despises all the pomps and works of Lucifer. Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious name given to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, son of the morning. By the way, son of the morning is the star of Venus, star of the morning, and star of the evening. It is here who bears the light. It is with its splendors intolerable, blinds. Wait, no. I'm reading this wrong, sorry. With its splendors intolerable, blinds, feeble, sensual, or selfish souls? Doubt it not, for traditions are full of denying revelations and inspirations. And inspirations is not one of age or one of creed. Now this seems like it's talking about, Lucifer being the false light and something that should not be followed. But as we later see, and this is page 201 of Morals and Dogma, as we later see in the book, we have something that's being predicted by many historians, by many people. They're saying that this is to come, and by Albert Pike himself. And he supports it. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a great social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to all the nations the effect of absolute atheism. A couple of years ago, you didn't have all this TikTok Christianity and Islam and growing religions as we do now. A couple of years ago, there was much more atheism than there is right now. But after this, we see the horrors of such nihilistic philosophy. And then, nations, the effect of absolute atheism, the origins of savagery and of most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere, the people will be forced to defend themselves against the world minority of the world revolutionaries, and will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitudes disillusioned with Christianity. Those whose spirits will be from that moment without direction and leadership, the anxious for an ideal but without knowledge where to send its adoration, will receive the true lights through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. Brought finally out to public view, a manifestation which will result from a general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So then the Christians read this and they feel very scared, because it's their truth. It's the philosophy that they hold. It's what they rely on for eternity and for their meaning of life. And this passage holds Lucifer as the true light and the true doctrine, which is really weird because, a couple hundred pages ago, he, for the 19th degree, warned of the false doctrine of Lucifer and how it was a spirit of darkness. Well, Lucifer is 100% just a symbol of Venus, symbol of liberty, and the reason why it's called the false light is because liberty is not the same as freedom. Well, Lucifer represents liberty or liberté, and that's also the Statue of Liberty, by the way. The Statue of Liberty is Lucifer. It's the light bringer. It's the torch bearer. It's I don't know where the term came that it was a lady liberty. That's just BS. There's no indication at all to say that the Statue of Liberty is a woman. That's Lucifer, Lucius, the torch bearer with these 7 points on the crown. You look at the painting of Rothschilds, and behind Lucifer, a painting of Lucifer summoning his legions, same way as the Statue of Liberty. And so he represents liberty, but then what is liberty? Liberty isn't freedom. Because liberty is a term that is recognized by, international finance and economics to describe when Navy SEALs, not Navy SEALs, but Navy sailors, when they travel across the world and they enter the United States, they're not just able to, leave the boat and enter whenever they want. You need to ask for a permission slip, which is called a liberty. You need to ask for a liberty. So you need to ask permission to do things, and then you can be given permission or you can be denied that permission. That's what the Statue of Liberty is. There is no freedom in the United States. That is not true. The Statue of Liberty represents the false freedom, which is you have to ask permission in order to do anything. You need to ask permission for loans. You need to ask permission for opening up a business. You can't just put up a business if you want. You need to have a certain authorized permission. You're not allowed to do a lot of things in the United States without asking permission, and that is the definition of liberty from a more realistic view from where it actually came from. It doesn't represent freedom, okay? Liberalism isn't freedom. It's not freedomism, it's liberalism. And conservatives, okay, that's political parties, that's all propaganda as well. But like both sides, I'm not here to advocate for Trump or the Republicans. That's where you get being liberated, right? This whole like new wave of being liberated. And the Statue of Liberty, that's what it means. And so you say, oh, okay, but then the United States isn't just represented by the Statue of Liberty. There's also a very big saying that United States is the land of the free, right? The United States, or America, land of the free. And that's wrong again. It is land of the free, or was land of the free for a couple hundred years. And why? Because it wasn't land of the free in total. It was the land of the Freemasons. And these, like you look at all of the founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, all of them were Freemasons. And to this day, you look around and you see the hand signs as well. Not a lot of them admit it publicly that they were Freemasons, but the founding fathers sure do. And you see a lot of that hand symbolism in modern politics as well. It's the land of the Freemasons. And the Freemasons were free from the Catholic Church in the United States. But not really. They were just free from the controlled opposition. So yeah, Lucifer is, no matter what this dude says, not a pure doctrine. But then he's also not wrong when he says that it will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism to be conquered and exterminated at the same time. Because they are both also religions that limit the brain or the human mind. So just because it says the word Lucifer doesn't mean that there are satanic rituals or that there are pedophilic sacrifices in the middle of the woods. That comes later, okay? Lucifer is not the symbol of Satan. Lucifer is not the Baphomet. Lucifer is not Moloch. They all represent different things. And yeah, he is Venus, the morning and evening star. The main thing that I'm trying to get at is, for people who have heard of Freemasonry and who have, seen like the TikTok images, and it's just like Lady Gaga doing her one eye symbolism. That doesn't represent Freemasonry as a whole, okay? Freemasonry goes a lot deeper than that, and you need to be able to think critically. You need to be able to open your mind. Hold your horses. The war isn't Jesus versus Satan in this world. Because Jesus comes from a place, the same place where Freemasonry comes from. So that cannot be. And we will explore theosophically and historically all of these things in this broadcast. You cannot limit your mind, otherwise you just become a sheep of the other herd. You become controlled not by the people who you see are just blatantly controlling, but you get controlled by a different layer that gives you a false sense of knowing what's out there. This is how they work. They put layers on layers on layers of lies. So you uncover one and you're like, holy crap, dude. This world's insane. This world is not what it seems. But there's still yet more layers to uncover. Like literally like the movie The Matrix. Literally. It's not even a joke. The way Andrew Tate says it, no, it's not even like that. Like you come to a point where you understand even Andrew Tate is controlled opposition at some point, at some certain degree. So let's not get controlled by controlled opposition, because then we wouldn't really be that different from the low philosophical capacity and two-dimensional thinking of atheism and just nihilism. We would think differently. Or sorry, we would not even think at all is what I mean. Not all Freemasons are evil. As a matter of fact, 6 million Freemasons exist. And you're telling me all of them are Luciferian Satanists that want to control the world? Dude, most of them don't even know what alchemy is. Most of them don't even know why they're in it in the first place. They go there wait, hold on. Let me see something. I think it's Saturday, right, that they meet. When do Freemasons meet? The second Wednesday of every month. Alright. According to some dude on Quora, apparently. They meet up every second Wednesday, and dude, they're in it for like the banquets and the choir singing and the charity raising. Most of the Freemasons in nowadays are just white dudes who had parents who were in Freemasonry and who are now themselves in it because they used to play baseball little league. That's why most of the Freemasons are in it. The satanic, disgusting, low-life, ritualistic pedophiles that run the world are in societies that go beyond Freemasonry. But, they technically had to go, a lot of them go through Freemasonry first. So, yeah, not all Freemasons are evil. Not everything about Freemasonry is evil. The polarity, black and white things that we're going to talk about later on, isn't evil, as a lot of Christians will tell you. Those are just laws and principles of the universe through a lot of philosophical thinking. But, now that I've mentioned that, because it's important to mention that, remember the Knights Templar. These dudes were they were knights who killed people, right? Whatever, military, nations have their wars. Yeah. But they were caught worshipping Satan. And Satan and Lucifer are completely different things. Lucifer sucks. But Satan is truly a lot times worse. And this knowledge that was held by the Knights Templar is currently at the 13th degree of York Freemasonry. And there's also probably other ways to join the Knights of Templar, even if you don't go through the 13 degrees of York Freemasonry. In the end, the main thing is that Freemasonry gatekeeps knowledge. The world rulers have created a system to enslave us, and this goes beyond you can step out of occultism for a second and go full Andrew Tate, Luke Belmar style, and say that this world is rigged, the game is rigged, your life and my life and everyone else's life has been planned from birth to death by rich royal bloodlines and families, by cultures and dogmas, and they have limited our capacity to be able to even think for ourselves. or understand the thinking and thoughts that come into our minds or into our brains. They have hidden knowledge, and they have created a system where that knowledge sounds ridiculous, right? Even though they themselves believe it and they practice it because it is literally just true. I had a conversation with a girl in my class once, and this was a long time ago. I was discussing Freemasonry, and I was saying, you think this is all hocus pocus? Then tell me why all of the most important people are a part of this. And it sounds so ridiculous that there is a secret society and that they do talk about spirits and things that aren't even here, and metaphors and astrology. It seems so strange and so crazy, because this world is strange and crazy, that they prefer to believe that those people, influential people, do these rituals and these things because they're bored and they want to pretend like they're doing something cool. Obviously that's ridiculous. They're the most important people in the world. I don't think Elon Musk has time to waste on fun. I don't think the royal, well, they do actually, but then they do have fun. They do have their parties. They have Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, did you not? There is for Jeffrey. The fun is somewhere else. Freemasonry. There's nothing fun about Freemasonry. What's fun about dudes singing in a choir? You know what? All right. Some people might think it's fun. I don't know. But it's really hard to believe that all the very, very famous and rich people would do it just because they're bored. It seems and that they're not allowed to talk about it or anything. No, they're just bored. So people will create excuses because they've created a system where understanding this knowledge isn't wanted by the people. All the people, they don't want to learn about this. They think it's ridiculous. They think it's stupid. From the religious to the atheists to all the people who are, according to them, the profane and the vile multitude. That's the system that they've created. And that's why I hate Freemasonry. And, okay, maybe Freemasonry weren't the first people to do it. But it's still like, if it's a society that's continuing the doctrines and, world-ruling systems and tactics that very, very old civilization and corrupt power used to do, I'm not going to like that organization or that fraternity or that religion, whatever it is. So I'm not with Freemasonry. Freemasonry sucks. And yeah, they do have connections with the Satanic Church, and they have very similar symbolism, and so do all other pagan religions, which totally doesn't include any of the Abrahamic religions. They're totally not pagan. They are. But I'm getting sidetracked here. The main thing is that the most influential people in this world, especially more modern in recent times, are Freemasons, and they gatekeep knowledge from you. Why should they? You should be enraged for a while, because technically they haven't hidden it. But they put up systems where you'd rather go watch the Lakers, or you'd rather be invested in whether Cristiano Ronaldo is going to win for whatever soccer team he's a part of nowadays, instead of the true secrets of mysteries that will give you so many abilities in this world. They don't want you to know that. That's the main thing. And again, it's not just for Freemasonry, it's for all dogmas and philosophical thinking that just give you an answer without having to make you think. Another quote from Albert Pike. Freemasonry, like all religions, all the mysteries, hermeticism, and alchemy, conceals its secrets from all except the adepts and sages or the elect, and uses false explanations. Who is Lucifer? A demon. He's the devil. He's the morning star and the representation of freedom. Look beyond just what has been told to you as dogmas. What is Satan? Where does Satan come from? Is he a red man with horns who lives in an endless pit of fire? No. No, he's not. Satan is the beast. But what is the beast? Beast is the carbon beast. And you start to look at what everything really means, and it all finally makes so much sense. And Freemasonry at its first couple of levels, yeah, it lies to you. Look at what Albert Pike is saying. It conceals the secrets from all except these adepts or sages, right? You're not a sage at an entered apprentice level. You're a sage or an adept once you go all the way through the top, and you start to gain more knowledge. Not being a fellow craft. You're not going to learn all of these secrets. False explanations and misinterpretations of its symbols, right? To mislead those who deserve only to be misled. He thinks you are deserving of being misled. I say the opposite to that. That's why I'm making this podcast, man. That's why, because I want the people to learn all of this information, which sounds ridiculous, but that these people, the most powerful people, believe in, and that trillions of dollars revolve around. I mean, I guess we would just get into opinions, and I guess that doesn't really do much for what you guys need to know. But I think that the information, the secrets of secrets, shouldn't even be secrets. The only problem is, if these weren't secrets anymore, we would have an equalistic, thriving society where no one would have power over the masses. No one would control things. No one would have everything to themselves. And I guess some people just don't want that. To conceal the truth, which it calls light, from them, and to draw them away from it. Page 104, Morals and Dogma. That's what all esoteric knowledge is. The esoteric knowledge is unraveling the exoteric. The exoteric is when you read about Jesus Christ literally floating his body all the way up to heaven. There's not a code behind that. There's not some secrets about the cosmos, about our neurobiology that has to do with that. Or did Jesus Christ, was he actually the Son of God who was put on this earth, and who later afterwards, literally after dying, his cells came back to life and he floated up into the heavens, where he was supposed to then come back? They're metaphors. And that's what you learn when you start to go down the route of esotericism. And the same metaphors you see in Freemasonry as well. Except usually through Freemasonry you go through levels and you eventually end up learning the esoteric true nature of those concepts. But that's why you have to take the oath of silence. Because if you reveal them, you get shot. You get murdered. So, what should I talk about now? I think we should talk about karmic retribution. It's a principle that's also used in Satanism, by the way. With the secrets of the universe, with the secrets of Freemasonry, you can learn how to be closer with God. You can, 100%.
You can learn how to achieve your higher self, your higher state of consciousness. There's so much information that will lead you to discovering the universe. But when you look at Hollywood, all of these people have been tempted by something else, to use those same concepts to make themselves more powerful, richer, with more fortune. Which, by the way, you don't even need. You don't even need to ruin your soul to do that. But when you go through Masonry, and you manifest all these things, you still have to take these sick oaths of silence. You have to do things and announce to the world that you are part of an organization that controls and manipulates most of the world. Yada, yada, yada. So then what is karmic retribution? Karma, okay? People say karma's a B word. And it is. Karma is a B word, which is why these people announce to the world what they're doing in ways you didn't know. They announce to the world what's to come, right? Why were there so many predictions? Simpsons, for example, why is there so many predictions of 9/11 before it even happened? Some people actually just, genuinely, knew what was going to happen. Other people, and these are the more powerful people, gave a warning to the world in ways that people didn't notice, because nobody notices that something was going to happen. Something was going to happen that day. So you have the Simpsons predicting 9/11, the Simpsons predicting Donald Trump's run for presidency to a very uncanny degree. Is it because they can predict the future? Or is it because everything is already planned? There's a plan. If you rule the world, you need to have a plan. And you can't just do things as they come. There's always a plan. But the thing is, a lot of the time, these plans aren't very good things that are supposed to happen. So then what happens? They give you signs that things are going to happen. They give you reasons to understand what's happening. That way, here's what they're thinking. You know what's going to happen. And you never said anything about it. You never said it was wrong. You don't accept that it's wrong. I'm telling you right now that what I'm going to do is wrong. Therefore, I've, in a way, escaped karma. I've escaped the consequences of my actions because I've warned you about them. That's what the Simpsons do. They don't predict the future. They don't have some sort of time machine. They just know because there are plans. And then that's a little bit aside after this. There was this day where, day trading is a very, very interesting thing. When you day trade and you learn about day trading, first off, and this is going to be like for people with trading, knowledge and terminology of, modern TikTok day trading. There's people out there getting hundreds of risk to rewards. Risk to rewards of over 100 per trade. They know the decimal to which price is going to start going into their direction. And with very high win rates as well. There is an algorithm and there are ways to understand it. And I'm not talking about ICT or SMC. I'm talking about real institutional trading. When SMC says, we trade like the banks, we trade like the institutions, they're not getting hundreds of RR. Okay? That system runs on liquidity, but it's much more accurate. That's real liquidity. Footprint charts can be read to see liquidity. Not crappy candlestick charts, although you can still get hundreds of risk rewards with candlestick charts per trade. Daily, bro. Daily. Because liquidity is a concept that banks need to generate in order to put their positions in. If the bank wants to sell $1 trillion worth of gold, who are they going to sell it to? Who are they going to sell? Nobody wants to buy $2 trillion worth of gold. Okay, maybe not 2 trillion, 200 billion worth of gold. So then what do? They make the patterns, they make the whole economic yield curve, yada yada, investing.com news, all this stuff. Bitcoin's going to 100K like they did recently. Bitcoin's going to 100K, everyone. Bam. Started declining. That's the only way it's going to get to 100K. If it first declines and takes liquidity. And the people don't understand. So people probably lost money in the past quarter or so because of that. Point is, you realize that the banks get into moves before they even happen. And so you look at the financial crisis of 2007. You go back on a daily time frame. Go back and look at the weekly ranges. And you see that liquidity was being generated and taken the week before the 2007 financial crisis even happened. You go to an S&P 500 chart and you check it out. You could have traded very, very successfully if you just knew what the banks were up to. And then you have stories like, what's his name? Alan Burry? Alan Burry, right? That's the dude who shorted the market, right? Alan Burry? Alan Burry. No. The heck? Who shorted the housing market? Michael Burry. Yeah. And then you have stories of Michael Burry, and you have the movie and everything, and it's all like this risky, algorithmic, yeah. Because the market operates under an algorithm that can be predicted. And you go back to the war in Gaza and Israel. You go back to Ukraine and Russia. You go back to September 11th. You go back to all of these catastrophes that were supposedly just catastrophes that begun. But guess what? The banks always got in the moves before they happened. And you can see that through the liquidity that they generate and take. So I'm not surprised when the Simpsons do that. And I'm also not surprised when the Freemasons and Jesuits and all of these secret society signs put hands over their face and cover one of their eyes, or go like this, in a photo shoot, or they do the hand of the master of the second veil, or they do these things. I'm not surprised at all, because what are they doing? They're announcing to the world, yo, listen to me. Not even listen to me, but yo, I'm saying all of these things. If you don't understand what's going on, that's your fault now. And so you have Doja Cat coming out with a song called Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones Society is another thing for another time. But Skull and Bones, and it's a song where she supposedly talks out against the whole conspiracies of her being a Satan worshiper and everything. And she just happens to name that one Skull and Bones. Really, really interesting. They try to warn you because they know that, no matter what, people are just so far off gone because the system has destroyed their ability to think critically and to see these things and to even know that this knowledge exists in the first place. That the people in power will do all these signs, they will warn you, and nobody cares. And they get to escape what their so-called karmic retribution is supposed to do to them. So, what are some of the hand signs? Now, on an Instagram account, I'm going to leave in my bio the link to a Google document that's going to have tons and tons of photos of celebrities and people in power, influential people, bright people, a lot of historical people doing secret hand signs, secret signals. A lot of them will be Freemasonic, some of them will be Jesuit, but then, it'll be updated as time goes by. And you'll be surprised to see who you see there. You'll really be surprised. But let's get into the first hand sign. The first hand sign is the hand of the master of the second veil. And what you would do is you would have to have a coat. Imagine this was a coat and there was nothing here, right? I would put my hand underneath one of the sides of the coat. And it doesn't really matter which one. Usually it's done with the left hand under the right side of your coat. But it doesn't really matter. I have to describe these because, if I don't, there's an audio version of this as well, apart from this video version. And let's go through some of these people. This is what it looks like, Master of the Second Veil, and you see people like Leonardo DiCaprio displaying it. Joseph Stalin, trained by Jesuits. Klaus Schwab. Even this dude, what is he doing? Kim Jong-un. And of course you have a lot of modern day celebrities and people who, modern day people. And yeah, you have a lot of olden times folks as well. That's Jesse from Breaking Bad, by the way. That's one of the signs, and it's called the hand sign of the hidden veil. Once again, why did they do this? They do this to show to the world and other Freemasons what fraternity they belong to, but then also to show to the world, yo, I'm a part of this organization. If you didn't know that, that's your fault. Then we have another hand sign, and whoa, what? Okay, another hand sign you have, and this is a little bit more of a modern one, is the one eye symbolism. And you've probably seen this one on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. You probably have seen this one before. You go like this, the one eye hand symbolism. One eye symbolism, or you can be that you'd either cover one of your eyes. You can have the golden bowl of Taurus. Yo, what's up? Or Jesuit book, like this. Or you could just emphasize an eye by doing like this around it. This one's a very obvious one. This one's when you do like an OK hand sign and you put the circle of the OK hand sign over your eye. Very, very common one. There's some that are with forks. They use, I don't have a fork with me right now, but imagine this was a fork. They do like this sometimes for some reason. They like pull their eye or their eye socket down a little bit. It's weird. That's the one eye symbolism, and if you really need to stay, wary of this, it's used in Satanism as well. A lot of one eye symbolism, but see, the thing is, the one eye symbolism, what does it represent? The one eye symbolism, from everything that I've known, because it's a very deep and extensive rabbit hole. The one eye symbolism does not refer to the third eye. Okay, Hindus are not Satanists because they wear the third eye. The eye of Ra and the eye of Horus is not Satanist because it is the third eye, the pineal gland. And when Manly P. Hall talks about the pineal gland and Kundalini energy, up in here, that's not the all-seeing eye. The all-seeing eye in Freemasonry is God. That's how they represent it. You have sun and moon. The sun is masculine, the moon is feminine. And then between those, you have the generational light, right? Just like when a father and a woman get together, their energy creates the child. That energy is the generation. Generation from who? The grand architect. The grand architect is God. And so this God sees overall. But here's the problem. When you choose material wealth and fame, like all of these celebrities in Hollywood do, and they go to Jeffrey Epstein Island and they're doing these horrible things, and they do the one-eye symbolism to represent God, it's false. It's not real. And when they do the okay hand sign, right? Like, yeah, you can go, hey, that's pretty good. You and your friends, you know? Yep, I'm good. Okay. That's a satanic, and it's satanic because if you do this hand symbol right now, with your left hand, put up your left hand and do an okay hand sign and extend your fingers like this. And you're going to see that there are 3 sixes. 666, it's the hand sign of the sixes. And so you put that God's eye through the 666, right? And the 666 is man's nature. It's the number of man, the number of the carbon beast. 666. That's what it is. And so when celebrities put their eyes looking through 666, it's a way of showing power, right, on top of the eye. But the eye still sees through it. But the power is still there. So material power, material good is not what God is. If I search up right now Freemasonry, and let me show you Freemasonry, and we got this. Let me show you this image. We've got this. This eye that you see here is not the same as the eye seen in celebrities, because this eye is the G. It replaces the G. You see this? Stone and compass, Freemasonic symbol, and in the middle is G. G for what? G for generation, G for grand architect, G for God. A lot of people say G for Grand Lodge and G for Grand Master, but the G in Grand Master and the G in Grand Lodge refers to the G in generation and the G in God and the G in not really God, because God comes from the word dog. Or does no? Sorry. The word dog comes from the word God. Sorry, that's where you get dogma from. Dogma is God. The G represents the generational power. And what replaces it? Well, it's the eye. The eye that sees overall. But then, when you look at Lil Nas X shoe, and you see him displaying the one-eye symbolism, and it's this satanic shoe. Please. Oh my gosh. So annoying. And you see this, right? It is nowhere the same eye as this. This eye is corrupted. So the one-eye symbolism is a Freemasonic, 100% is a Freemasonic symbol, but it's very complicated and it's very difficult to understand. When we look at, I think I got it here, some companies that have, or that handle information, you have the one-eye symbolism, right? Information Awareness Office. It's not really a company, that's an organization. There you go, Illuminati. You have the dollar bill. The $1 bill has the Illuminati eye on it. And Illuminati in no way is it Satanist. But Satanism, in all of its right, does use the all-seeing eye. It's very complicated, but they're not the same thing. They're absolutely not the same thing. You got CBS. CBS controlling what? Controlling the news. The news is what happens in the north, east, south, and west. Everything that happens in the northeast and the southwest is the news. And they control this news and they do the broadcast. They do broadcasting. What is casting? Casting is like spell casting. What is casting though? Casting is putting seeds, right? Or throwing seeds around. No, not throwing seeds around, but planting a lot of seeds in a very large field. That's what casting originally means. It's planting ideas into people's mind. Broadcasting. And what do you have? You have the all-seeing eye symbology. Fidelity. Fidelity is a $1 trillion management. I think it's a hedge fund. Trillions of dollars under asset management. Still nowhere near as BlackRock, but BlackRock is. Oh, excuse me. BlackRock isn't a hedge fund. It's a just asset management firm, which are different things. That's the all-seeing eye. And then we have another sign. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to go through the ones that you could probably spot a lot in Freemasonry. Put your finger over your lips. That's one of the signs. And again, it's seen freaking everywhere, bro. Let's go to my Pinterest because I have a lot. I use Pinterest. It's very cringe and girly. Oh wait, let me just show you. It's very cringe and girly as an app, but it lets me find these photos, which is the only reason I use Pinterest in the first place. And like, okay, for example, you have this Chilean dude, Pedro Pascal. I don't know if you guys know that song. Oh, you don't, because I just made it up 2 seconds ago. Robert Downey Jr., you have all of these other Freemasonic signs, one-eye symbolism, all of these things. And then, along with it, you have the vow of silence. And if you search this up as well, Freemason sign of silence. It's a Scottish Rite Freemasonic hand sign. That's used. I don't know where. This is not from Richardson's Monitor of Freemasonry, but there was one that was similar to this. I have the book, but let me just hold on. I need to turn this here. And where was this from Richardson's Monitor of Freemasonry? I guess it's not in Richardson's Monitor of Freemasonry, but it's in other monitors, I guess. Okay. So then, another Masonic sign of silence. And what does this represent? Well, it's not as grand and incredible as the one-eye symbolism, but it represents the vow of silence which Freemasons have to take. If not, what happens? And that's another Freemasonic sign. Whenever you enter the ritual room, when you enter a ritual room to do a ritual, you always have to slide your hand across your neck. Slide across your hand across your neck, because that's what's going to happen to you if you reveal the secrets of Freemasonry. I have a speech by John F. Kennedy, who they disappear. They disappear the entire John F. The JFKs, or the Kennedys. The JFKs. They disappeared them. They made them all just disappear. And I have here the speech. Listen to it yourselves. Let's see. Okay, you guys can't hear it. No?
Seem almost contradictory in tone. but which must be reconciled and fulfilled if we are to meet this national peril. I refer first to the need for far greater official secrecy, information, and second, to the need for far greater official secrecy. The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment.
Okay, talking about Freemasonic societies, as the president, his biggest mistake, I would say, is he didn't freak out about it as much as he should have. He was also there to abolish the central bank and the CIA. Guess what? They killed him. He's dead, and along with a lot of other Kennedy families members. You have Michael Jackson, another example. Michael Jackson, what did he do? He made MTV's Masonic Temple. MTV is a Masonic temple? What? Then the Masons realize what he's doing. Yo, you gotta go, bro. You gotta go. You slept with children. And also, you overdosed, apparently. Guys, Michael Jackson overdosed. The same thing is to be said about more recently XXX Tentacion. This dude was talking about frequencies. He was talking about the power of frequencies and how artists could literally manipulate and change emotions inside of people. That's why music, you have to be very careful about it. And whatever it is, your music that you listen to is talking about, you're manifesting it into your emotions and later into the material world. That's not even that sounds again very meta and pagan, whatever, cuckoo conspiracy, but they killed the dude for saying that. They killed him, and he knew that he was gonna die as well because he knew that these things were gonna happen. There should be probably some XXX Tentacion Freemason photos, and it says this topic violates our guidelines, which cannot be true at all. I found a photo here. He's wearing a chain, and this chain is the Star of David. Hold on a second. Star of David. Father and mother, generational power. Oh yeah, he had this mask as well, the polarity principle of Freemasonry. This dude, Lil Pump, if he were to show up with a black and white mask, I wouldn't think 2 seconds about it, because this dude's an actual idiot. This dude is an actual, no, I don't mean to offend, but this dude is not a thinker. He is just a jester. He is a clown for the circus. Meanwhile, XXX Tentacion, he had the white and black hair. He had the black and white mask, the polarity, and he spoke about frequencies to such a high level. I wouldn't be surprised if these black and white colors were there to represent hermetic principles of polarity seen within Freemasonry. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And yeah, they shot him dead. He's dead. He's gone. So, either shut up or, as you yourself promised, and okay, let's think about it this way as well. You have this modern trend, by the way. Trends in social media are really funny to me because people actually believe that most of them are started by the people themselves. In the past, we had advertisement through newspapers, then it went to commercials, then it went to sponsorships in entertainment like movies, sports, and more recently now actual influencers. And so many people still believe when I say this that this is a far reach because it's ridiculous and ludicrous to believe that there is somewhere an office and team of analysts who can create trends in the media. Most modern, or one of the most modern trends, or memes, or whatever, the looks maxing trend, right? The looks maxing trend. What do you do when you do the looks maxing trend? Okay, first off, let's get it out the way. Jeremy Fragrance. Oh, hormone imbalances, right? Gotta have the classy suit. Fashion comes from a very destructive place, or at least modern fashion does. A very manipulative place. You look at Edward Bernays, the father of propaganda. He had to do with he explained fashion so much, and he manipulated women's fashion a lot, just for monetary gain. And then there's some things about fashion that are absolutely just the worst, most disgusting backstories. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that right now because that's for a different episode. What do you do when you do looks maxing? And I brought up the song, right? When you do looks maxing and you do this whole trend, okay, you're mewing, that's fine, that's good, right? That's good for your kundalini. You're taking air through your nose. It helped me a lot doing the whole mewing thing. Now I can breathe through my nose a lot better. Diet as well, stronger. But the symbology of the hand signs, they look very familiar, right? You enter a Masonic lodge and you do this. What do? You put on the song, right? I mean, come on, really? You do this? They're like, it might be a stretch, and there's no proof and validity. Yes, it's technically a theory, but it's just not something I would do. I don't believe in the secrecy, and I do think that there are powers at be that have the influence and power to control entire trends without it even looking like it was a team of analysts. Why do you think there's so many accounts nowadays on Instagram that show breakup videos? I don't know if you've seen them. Where it's just... and it's just people breaking up with each other. No, babe, don't look at my phone. Don't look at my phone. It's because they're trying to make it happen in real life. They're like, every time I see one of those videos, I always comment CIA bot account, because they want to keep you in that low mentality, and you cannot be serious about, or you can't be serious to actually think and believe that the trends of social media cannot be influenced by these powers that be. You'd have to be just out of your mind. And then finally, there's the handshake. The handshake is, what is the handshake? The handshake is just, it's like I wouldn't really say it's there to escape karmic retribution. I would just say that the handshake is there to, know who's in the same club as you, and also know who is in your degree. A normal handshake you'd usually like touch here, but in a Freemasonic handshake, you wouldn't. You would go kind of like half the way. It's very weird, but let's see if I can find a photo. Freemasonic handshake versus normal. Okay. Here's some handshakes. Why are they all in Reddit? Gosh. There we go. Here's some handshakes. And you can see that depending on the degree that you are in, you will give different handshakes. And the one I've seen the most throughout like images and social media is this one and this one, the Entered Apprentice. I see this Entered Apprentice all the freaking time, and it's probably because people don't really know which degree they're a part of. I don't think Shaquille O'Neal goes to the same Masonic lodge as Donald Trump. So I don't think they know each other's degree, which is why this is probably why it happens. But if you truly were to ask me, I couldn't tell you the real answer. But this is the one I see most of the time. It's the Entered Apprentice one, the lowest degree, just crazy. Handshakes, and usually the handshakes are the ones that you would see more in the political world. When you see one eye symbolism or the shushing, it's usually in Hollywood, celebrities, rock and roll, people. Meanwhile, the secret handshake is usually seen throughout politics, economics, things like that. And then the hand of the hidden veil is seen mostly in, like, I think it's a good combination of, both entertainment and ancient historical figures and modern politics. The hidden hand is everywhere. So yeah. Then we have to talk about some symbology which isn't necessarily seen. Got some lemon stuck in my throat. Isn't necessarily seen throughout, the public, but instead it's more inside the lodge, right? So the first one is, and let me just see which one I have here. Oh, wait, before we talk about that, we have to talk about this clip which I came across. It's just a clip. It's just a clip, and I found the original interview because I wanted to see a little bit more of it. But here is the clip that I found. Yeah, okay, so I wanted to give an example because I saw this, and this is just not the right idea of what Freemasonry is. This is something that I saw, and it's something that will be good to have when I explain the next symbology. Listen to what this guy says. His name is, I don't know what his name is, but he has a podcast, or he does lectures called The Voice of Reason.
That is God. And Freemasons believe that science alone and the natural world, what we observe in the universe, is enough to know everything that we need to know about God. And they believe that the patterns that we see in the universe are God giving us secret messages about the truth that he has revealed to us. So it's very esoteric, and it's something that they safeguard and they keep. And they, from 717 up until today, we still know actually very little about what exactly is it that they are teaching about this secret knowledge that they claim to have, because they're the smartest people in the world who know the science better than anybody else.
Okay, there you go. Now, yes, that's all true, but it's not true that we don't know these secrets. It's not true that we don't know these secrets, and all you have to do is pick up some Freemasonic books, some laws of. So you could probably read the Kabbalion, and you will see that the metaphors for which they explain, or the metaphors that they explain, are certainly understandable by people who aren't even in Freemasonry. The first symbol, which I think is very easy to understand for beginners. We're going to go through all the different symbols. We're going to go through the Bible. We're going to go through all of these things. Freemasons aren't the smartest people. Freemasons are, again, not the creators of this, whole dogma or knowledge. They are certainly not the ones who discovered it, but they do keep the tradition alive. The first one is the symbol of the black and white tiles on the floor. Black and white tile floors, just like the yin and yang, is a symbol of the Hermetic law of polarity. What is polarity? It is the law that everything has a polar opposite or is on a scale of polar opposites, just like hot and cold. There's no such thing as, how would you say that? There's not something that's immediately defined as hot or immediately defined as cold. It is simply, this is difficult. It's different temperatures that can be given a description based on where the temperature is on that scale. And so we give those temperatures attributes and meaning. And we say this is cold because the atoms or the energy that's around this object is very still. And if I touch it, it's going to make my fingers' atoms start to slow down as well. Or this steam that's coming out of this, what's it called again? Geyser. The steam that's coming out of this geyser is really hot. Why? Because the molecules are moving around really, really quickly. And that's the description that we've given such terms. Fast and slow. But guess what? Without slow, you can't have fast. Without something being there to compare it to, you cannot have something that is fast. Which is why absolutely everything has a polar opposite. Light and darkness. There is no darkness if there is no light. It seems very trippy to think about because you're like, isn't darkness just the absence of light though? But if there was no concept of light, you wouldn't know what light is. And you wouldn't even think about light. So that wouldn't even be a reality. Same thing with good and evil. And this is where Christianity comes in and says that's not true. Good and evil is just like other things. A different ethical values on a scale of ethics. Good and evil are two different polar opposites, and without good, we cannot have evil, and without evil, we cannot have good. Something that is denied by Christianity. Christianity aims to be only good, and only good alone. But the thing is, you cannot say that, because in order to do a right or to do a good, you had to destroy the bad. So then you look at the story of Noah's Ark, right? Noah had to
be the only person to survive. Him and his family, the only people surviving the flooding. All of these people had to be killed and murdered to achieve what in the Bible is a good outcome. You cannot have good without evil. No matter what you say, killing all those people is still killing all those people. That was evil. But to do a right, sometimes you must do a wrong. Now, I personally understand that it's a metaphor and it's not real that millions of people and the entire world was wiped out. I understand that. And I understand that, sacrificing goats, sacrificing, your child, Abraham going to almost sacrifice his child, isn't good. And Noah's Ark's story isn't really a good look on the Christian God. But in the end, what I'm trying to say is, through the lens of Christian philosophy, that was a good thing. But it would be ludicrous and insane to think that those good things didn't have any bad actions behind them. To do a right, you must wrong. Sometimes you that's how it is. Now, killing the entire world, maybe not. But in day-to-day lives, sometimes you have to tell a lie to make somebody feel better. Let's say, for example, somebody hurts you, but it's not really that big of a deal, and you tell them that, no, it's fine. Sure, that might turn into something very repetitive and horrible in the years to come, but you are wronging, which is lying. Lying is wrong to yourself. You are being unauthentic to yourself for the sake of somebody else. That's not bad. I don't think that's bad. Sometimes you do need to wrong to right. And again, principle of polarity. And that's on the freaking free Masonic floor everywhere. Jesus and Lucifer. Jesus and Satan. And not only is it black and white tiles, but it's also red and blue across a lot of modern things. You have the red and blue Democrats versus Republicans. You have Domino's Pizza. You have the red and the blue pill. You have the Taurus field. You have the police sirens, red and blue lights. Symbols of polarity. And yeah, just you can't really think that only good can happen. But the interesting thing about morality when looking at the law of polarity, because when we talk about temperature, it could be different, but when you talk about morality, it's very interesting because in the end, God saw that it was good. So in the end of times, once you're dead, once your soul has left your body, once you have, do what you were set out to do on this earth, after everything, it all served a purpose. And the all-creating, all-seeing, generational grand architect of the universe, the one God, knows that our time on this physical planet isn't everything. We're not on here to be individuals, first of all. If God created everything and there was nothing before him, he had to create everything out of himself, which means collectively all of us are God experiencing this physical world, which is the limitation world. But in heaven, you don't have limitations. You can materialize whatever you want because it's just thoughts. It's the mental plane of existence where you have zero limitations. But here in this world, we're bounded by limitations. And in this world of limitations, we have our ego. And through the concept of our ego, we have the concept of something being good or something being wrong. Something which I don't believe needs to be like, in Buddhism, transcended from. Instead, I think you should be aiming towards being a good person and positive. In the end, it all serves a higher purpose. And no matter all the evil things that happen in this world, they serve a purpose for a higher reason. And it's very interesting to think about, because there's a lot of bad things that have happened in this world. A lot of really bad things. A lot of evil people. But in the end, all of it is just God. And God has free will on himself, which is us. In the end, it's all a construct, and we're here to experience it. We're here to experience good and evil. We're here to experience evil no matter what. And that's what it's always been since the beginning. It's just animals eating other animals. That's what we are. Animals eating other animals. Definitely the opposite of paradise. Very cruel land indeed. But that's what we're here to experience. We're here to experience love. We're here to experience heartbreak as well. And yeah. But in no way am I saying do what thou wilt. Okay? I'm not saying that you can just have the liberté to be whatever you want and just, so then polarity is just a concept. It's a social construct of the ego. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. I don't have a higher purpose. My higher purpose is just to live and experience. Be a good person, because that's how you find God. You yourself, as an individual. We have a collective. We have a collective consciousness, which is all humans combined, and we have the individual consciousness, which is you watching this podcast right now. Be a good person, because that's how your own singular consciousness will find God. Find the G-force, the God light. Another symbol symbolizing polarity, and this one is very interesting, because you look at Temple of Solomon and Kabbalah and 9/11, Twin Towers. You have the two pillars of the Freemasonic Lodge, and this is Baz and Yakayan. The Boaz and Yachin is how I thought they were pronounced, but they're actually pronounced Baz and Yakayan. And I'll show you a picture of them. These are the two of them. This is Boaz or Baz, this is Yakayan. And again, representing the law of polarity, and they're seen inside of all Freemasonic lodges. Let's show you what it would look like in a Freemasonic lodge. Here you go. Oh, I turned it off. Hold on. There you go. That's Baz, and this is Yakayan. And again, just laws of polarity. You saw that one was B and the other one was J. Laws of polarity. Again, just like the floor, sun and moon, one can't exist without the other. Deal. The moon and the sun is also used to represent Freemasonry, but then that goes into the Hermetic law of gender. The Hermetic law of gender is that everything in this world has gender. And I'm not talking about animals or people. I'm talking about everything. Every object has a gender. Generally, what's a very known concept about this law of gender is the left and right hemisphere of the brain. The left hemisphere of the brain is the more masculine type of thinking, which is analytical, straightforward, and the one of doing, right? Doing action. While the other side is the subconscious, the feminine side of the brain, which is creativity, emotional intelligence, and things that a lot of the time go beyond what we can perceive and analyze. The man, or the masculine, looks at everyone and sees individual people and sees himself as an individual, while the feminine views everyone as a whole, one giant organism and system. And then finally, we have one last symbol that I'm going to talk about for today, and this is the double-headed eagle. It's not just seen in Freemasonry; it's also seen in the Orthodox Church. It's seen in other countries as well. Kanye West made an album called Vultures, and it has this, right? And I wrote some about this. This Ordo ab Chao, right, is to represent the Hermetic law of cycles, right? The Hermetic law of cycles. And why is this? Well, let's look at a torus field. What is a torus field and how does it move energy around? Well, let's grab this diagram. Copy image. Let's go to here. Let's go to Clicky, my favorite drawing website. And what happens is, and this is like, I don't want to go into as above, so below today, but this is seen throughout the cosmos. This is seen throughout our planet. This is seen throughout our bodies, our cells, and all the way down to atoms, individual atoms, and how energy moves across atoms. You have electrical disbursement. How would you say that? Energy being shot out into disorder, right? And then later on, collected in again and creating order, right? And in the middle you have the order, which is this fine spot called the plane of inertia. That's where we live. That's where we live. We live in the plane of inertia, in between the blue and the red. And this is wrong, actually. This is supposed to be blue, right? Energy being shot out. Energy being shot out from this hole. And then energy being recollected. And in the middle, you have the plane of inertia, right? That's the middle. And it goes around. Chaos and then order and then chaos and then order and then chaos and this order. What do you think of trees, for example? Let's do YGGD. I like this tree because it shows very well how things go in this freaking life. This is the tree of life, right? Why is it the tree of life? Again. Literally again. Energy is shot out, right? The leaves fall, they die. The energy is being lost from the source of life. And then they all fall down. They all fall down in the middle. But then what happens? The whole ecosystem has the roots, has the bugs that will eat it up, turn it into compost, turn it into energy that is usable for this tree again, And what do you know it? What do you know? Energy is then magnetically attracted towards the same branch where the cycle continues and continues and continues. Plane of inertia as well, guys. That's why in this world, by the way, if you look at the way things are, you have green everywhere, right? Of course, before the Industrial Revolution, before pollution, all these things, yada yada yada. Before all of this, everything was green, grass, trees, and why? Because we live in the plane of inertia on this earth. We live in the plane of inertia. And why is the sky blue? And why is underneath the ground it's just lava and red molten mass? Because the universe is an extremely smart and incredible creation made by God, and he knows what he's doing, and it all follows a system and patterns. And so, not only does it represent, order out of chaos, Ordo ab Chaos represents order out of chaos, but then this represents polarity again, the law of polarity and duality. But I'm mainly focused on this Ordo ab Chaos. Ordo ab Chaos is also then a form of controlling the masses. It's a technique used to control the masses, and it's to create order out of chaos. Everything is out of order, and you think that everything is out of order, when in reality, everything is under control. You see, the blacks against the whites, the blues against the reds, the Democrats against the Republicans, the feminists against the male activists, the environmentalists against the industrialists, the vegans against the whatever. All of these things are controlled by higher powers, because the truth is that none of them really freaking matters. You're all there to hate each other instead of the people above who control everything else. Do you I was watching it's one of those clips from Andrew Tate. Comes out and he says, "Do you honestly think that a rich billionaire that's black and a rich white billionaire are gonna sit down and discuss about racism? Do you think a billionaire woman is gonna talk about female rights and Eurocentrism and all? They don't care." And that's the truth. Because those things are wars between each other. And what do you think wars are in the first place? It's the same thing. Wars between each other so that we hate our own fragile, vile multitude, profane and uninitiated, vulnerable, limited and innocent class. We fight each other instead of the powers that be that hide all the information from us. So don't buy into that, because they're creating their order, their idea of order, which is control over the world order out of chaos between the people. Yeah. It's order out of chaos. It's why in a lot of American and European universities, a lot of social sciences have been explicitly around racism, LGBTQ rights, to create and foster that rivalry, that debate between people that isn't really a debate. In the end, you have to seek truth and not an argument. The arguing is fun sometimes, I won't lie. So in the end, I wouldn't really be opposed to joining Freemasonry and learning the concepts of Freemasonry. What I am opposed to is the sick oath of rights. The sick oath of silence. And, Luciferianism, liberté. But, if you are part of Freemasonry, you kind of avoid yourself out of Lucifer. And instead just make all the other people worship Lucifer. Still, that's not good, man. And also, I'm opposed to not being able to tell anyone about the secrets of the Master Mason. And you know what? Even in the end, good luck if you want to join Freemasonry. Good luck even trying to join a Freemasonic lodge that actually teaches you knowledge instead of just people who do charities and do choirs and that eat every now and then. It's hard. Anyways, that's all that the time that I think I have right now. This is only a very small fraction of all the symbolism and all of the occult practices of what's going on right now in plain sight. And all the lies that have been told to you. You've been living a lie. It's time to open it up. It's time to open that eye up. Things are extremely dark. This world is hell. And the people at large, the people who run this world, are sick, disgusting pedophiles. I didn't even get to talk about that in this episode, but we will. Only trust in God. There's only one God. Zeus and Jesus and Krishna and all of these other deities are deities. They're, at most spirits or beings with a lot of power, but they're not God. God is the number one, above everything, above it all. God is the creator of everything, of what we see now and what's invisible to us, of the physical and of the dimensions above. He's the one non-contingent existence, the one infinite existence. And learning the language of symbols will, let you understand who runs this world, what's going on. So thank you very much for listening, and thank yourself for listening as well.